Have you ever wondered why the richest moments of your life come not when you're awake, but when you're asleep? What if the key to manifesting money fast was hidden not in effort, but in the moments just before you drift off? There was a time when I had nothing but belief and an empty wallet. I was living in a small apartment, cold in winter, and the world outside seemed indifferent to my desires. But one night, as I lay between wakefulness and sleep, I decided to imagine differently. Instead of reviewing my problems, I constructed a new inner scene. I imagined walking into a bank, feeling the weight of abundance in my pocket, sensing the confidence that came with financial freedom. I repeated this scene every night, never begging, never pleading, just accepting that it was true. Within weeks, without a logical explanation, money found its way to me. And not just once, it became a flow. That was the beginning of my understanding that sleep holds the secret key to wealth. The mind just before sleep is open, fertile, and unguarded. When you deliberately assume the feeling of already being wealthy in this drowsy state, you bypass logic and speak directly to the subconscious. This is the zone where your inner world reshapes the outer. Do not wait until the morning to begin creating your fortune. Use the night. Lie in bed, close your eyes, and begin constructing your financial reality as though it were already accomplished. See it, feel it, hear it. Rehearse the result, not the means. It is not the words you say to yourself before sleep that manifest. It is the feeling that you carry into the depth of unconsciousness. Let the warmth of financial freedom be your lullaby. Drift off not in worry, but in fulfillment. Every night you are given a blank slate. Your last thoughts before sleep are like commands sent into the depths of your inner mind. If you repeat lack, lack appears. If you repeat wealth, wealth must respond. The subconscious obeys, not questions. The assumption of being rich, deeply felt just before sleep, generates momentum. The more consistent your nightly vision, the quicker the physical world conforms. This is not fantasy, it is law in motion. When you affirm your wealth in daylight, it is powerful. But when you affirm it in the silence of sleep, it becomes atomic. Nighttime assumptions sink deeper, bypass resistance, and begin their silent work of rearranging reality. Your subconscious is not moral, not critical, and not skeptical. It reflects what you persistently feed it. As you go to sleep tonight, know that your assumption is accepted without debate. So why not assume the best? Do not concern yourself with the how of wealth. That is not your domain. Your task is to dwell in the end result. See yourself already living it, and then surrender to sleep. In that surrender, the bridge of events is built. There exists a subtle and sacred moment between wakefulness and sleep. It is a space where the conscious mind softens and the deeper layers of awareness rise to the surface like mist from still water. This moment is what the ancients might have called the divine threshold. And it is here, in this mysterious territory, that the most potent acts of creation occur. Not through effort, but through assumption. One does not need to struggle with reality during the day when one learns to work with this state at night. What you accept as true in this state, what you feel to be real, becomes the blueprint from which your world is formed. In this twilight zone, this state akin to sleep, you are still enough to impress the subconscious, yet alert enough to guide the impression. The body begins to relax, the noise of the world fades away, and the mind grows receptive. Here you do not need to force a vision, nor do you need to fight doubts. The power is not in the clarity of your picture, but in the conviction of your feeling. You must learn to slip quietly into the role you wish to play, letting the scene unfold naturally, emotionally, and repeatedly. Now let us speak plainly. Most people drift into sleep with worry, doubt, and mental rehearsals of their fears. They replay their bank balance, their failures, their insecurities. And what do they awaken to? More of the same. The state akin to sleep does not discriminate. It amplifies what it is fed. So if you sleep with poverty in your mind, poverty roots itself deeper. But if you sleep with wealth vividly impressed upon your inner senses, wealth must take shape. This is not a motivational idea. It is a metaphysical law in action. So what does it mean to manifest wealth in this state? It means that just before you surrender to sleep, you adopt the inner position of the one who is already wealthy. You assume, not wish. You feel, not fantasize. You no longer seek to become, you are. And this being is not noisy. It is quiet and confident. The man who knows he is rich does not beg the world to confirm it. He carries a silence about him that speaks volumes, and so must you. In that still moment before sleep, your task is not to explain to the world how your wealth will arrive. Your only task is to feel what it is like to already possess it. The idea must not be kept on the surface of the mind. It must sink into the depths, and only the drowsy state allows for such a sinking. In that soft descent into sleep, your imagination must become your reality. Your senses must yield to your vision. You may imagine yourself holding a check, signing a deal, seeing a bank statement, or simply feeling the comfort of financial peace. It does not matter how the wealth appears in your inner scene. What matters is that you feel its reality, not as a future hope, but as a present fact. Some will say, but what if I don't feel it? What if I can't believe it? Then practice, not during the noise of the day, but during the silence of night. You do not plant a seed and dig it up the next morning. You plant it, cover it, and let the soil of sleep nurture it. Faith is not noise, it is stillness. It is the still certainty that once something is felt in the inner world, it must by law take shape in the outer. I've often laid in bed, heavy with physical fatigue, yet rich in inner certainty. And that certainty never betrayed me. Even when the facts around me shouted the opposite, I knew the truth of my inner act would be revealed. And it always was. What you do just before sleep, how you think, what you accept, what you feel, sets the tone of your world. Most people treat sleep as an escape, but it is a doorway. Most use it to review what is. The wise use it to create what will be. So I urge you to shift your nightly practice. No longer allow yourself to fall asleep by default. Do not let fear be your lullaby. Instead, make sleep your sacred workshop. Build with feeling, construct with assumption. Design your world as if it were already complete. Let this become your nightly ritual, to withdraw from the world of men and enter the world of cause. For all that appears on the outside began first on the inside, and sleep is the passageway through which the inside becomes the outside. Tonight, when you close your eyes, do not drift, direct, do not review, rewrite, do not plead, possess. Sleep, when rightly used, becomes the most powerful act of creation known to man. Use it wisely, and wealth shall become the echo of your inner silence. The mind is the womb of creation, and like all wombs, it must be impressed with a seed. But that seed is not a wish. It is not even a thought. It is a feeling, deliberately assumed, consciously nurtured, and deeply felt. Now the moment of sleep is the most fertile soil into which you can drop that feeling. Yet the tragedy for most is not that they fail to imagine. It is that they wait until the morning to begin. They rise into the world, attempt to conquer it with action, and by the time they lie down again, they are weary with the echoes of resistance. This is not the way. The real work of wealth begins before the eyelids fall, not after the sun rises. The moment you lie in bed and feel your body surrender to relaxation, the door between the conscious and subconscious mind begins to open. This door is not a fantasy. It is as real as the breath you take. And through that door, whatever feeling you hold is delivered directly into the creative depth of being. If you lie in bed rehearsing how you will pay the bills or worrying about a future without provision, then that door receives those images as instructions. And the subconscious, never questioning, begins the process of externalizing what you have just sent into it. But if you choose instead to construct a scene and live in the end of your desire, if you feel the satisfaction of wealth as though it were yours already, then that feeling is dropped into the deepest parts of your mind. It is not your job to question how. It is only your job to assume. Imagine this with me. You have just laid down for the night. The room is quiet. The chaos of the day is behind you. Do not waste this moment by reaching for distraction. Instead, close your eyes and begin to visualize a simple scene. Perhaps you are in your living room, seated in comfort, glancing at a document confirming the deposit of a large sum into your account. Or maybe you hear the voice of a friend congratulating you on a successful venture. Whatever the scene may be, it must imply the fulfillment of your wealth, and it must feel real. Let it not be a wish, but a memory, something already accomplished. Let this scene become your final impression before sleep. There is immense power in the subtle repetition of such scenes. You do not need to build a grand story. A short, vivid clip, looped in feeling, is far more effective than an elaborate drama. This is because the subconscious does not respond to complexity. It responds to conviction. The simpler your assumption, the more likely it is to be impressed. And repetition is the tool that sharpens that impression. Night after night, return to the same scene. Do not alter it. Do not complicate it. Let it become so familiar that your body believes it before your world confirms it. Now, this is not the same as daydreaming. Daydreams are idle, they lack intent. But what you are doing in the moments before sleep is deliberate creation. You are planting seeds into the garden of your being, trusting that in the unseen, something is already taking root. And once planted, do not dig them up with doubt. You do not need to wake up and measure progress. You need only to persist in the assumption. Let us be very clear. The world around you is only a mirror of your dominant inner state. If you wake each day from the same old emotions of fear, doubt, or inadequacy, then life has no choice but to give them form. But if you fall asleep each night in the feeling of financial freedom, of safety, of security, of abundance, then even the most stubborn facts must eventually yield. They must bend to the assumption that you faithfully carry. You may say, but how do I maintain the feeling if I have none of it in the physical world? The answer is simple. You do not look to the physical world to give you the feeling. You bring the feeling to the world. You become as an actor, so immersed in your role that even off stage, it lingers. And over time, that role is no longer a performance. It becomes the truth. You feel rich, not because you have money, but because you have chosen to feel rich, and in time, life complies with your choice. The sleep period is your canvas. Paint it with joy, embellish it with gratitude, color it with certainty, and do not paint outside the lines of your desire. This is a nightly ritual, not a one-time act. Wealth, when imagined nightly with feeling, becomes inevitable. It may not come in the way you expect. It may arrive through channels you could never predict, but it will come. Because your feeling, sustained, repeated, has claimed it. So tonight, as you prepare to lay down, forget the world for a while. Step into your inner chamber and act as the one who has already received. See the signs, hear the voices, touch the evidence, and as your breathing slows and your limbs grow heavy, let that final emotion be one of certainty, not of reaching, but of having. For in that sacred sleep, you are not escaping life, you are commanding it. There is no greater bridge between imagination and manifestation than the power of feeling. Thought alone is not the creative act. It is feeling that gives life to the invisible. One can think of wealth all day long and remain in poverty, for thought without emotional acceptance is only an echo with no substance. But the moment a man feels that he already possesses what he desires, the moment he sinks into the assumption that it is real now, that moment becomes the turning point. For it is not wishing that brings about the change, it is feeling. Feeling is the language of the subconscious, and the subconscious is the builder of our reality. To impress an idea upon the subconscious, one must not simply think about the end, one must feel it as true. This is the great secret hidden in plain sight. The world teaches man to feel only after something happens, but the law demands that one feel before it occurs. The order is reversed. And this reversal is the difference between remaining in lack and stepping into abundance. Nowhere is this principle more powerful than in the state that precedes sleep. For in that moment, when the conscious mind is beginning to release its grip and the subconscious rises to receive. The feeling one carries becomes the blueprint for what is to come. When you lie down at night, you must not drift into sleep with uncertainty. You must not rehearse doubts or fears. That time is sacred. That time is a doorway, and the emotion you bring to it is the key. If you wish to manifest wealth, you must feel wealthy, not tomorrow, not when the numbers in your account change, but now. The rich man feels ease, confidence, and a sense of fulfillment. He is not rushed, he is not strained, and he is not hoping, he is being. So you must become this inner being. You must step into his shoes and feel as he would feel. You must sleep as he would sleep, not with worry in his chest, but with peace in his breath. When you assume a feeling of wealth, you are not pretending. You are persuading your inner self of a new truth. And when the inner man is persuaded, the outer world reflects that persuasion. There is no deception in this. You are not lying to yourself. You are claiming a reality that already exists in the invisible. And your feeling is the invitation that brings it forward. So let the feeling be deep. Let it be saturated with conviction. Let it become your new identity. This is why repetition is so essential. Feeling once is a spark. Feeling consistently is a flame. And it is this flame that burns through the old assumptions and illuminates the path to new outcomes. Every night, as you approach sleep, return to the same inner state. Rekindle the feeling. See it not as a duty, but as a delight. For each time you do, you are renewing the instructions sent to the subconscious. And the subconscious does not fail to follow orders so long as the order is emotionalized. It is here that many fail. They confuse mental chatter with inner persuasion. They speak affirmations aloud but feel fear inside. The words say, I am wealthy, but the heart whispers, I am afraid. And the heart is what the subconscious listens to. So do not merely speak, feel. Do not simply declare, accept. It is the inner acceptance, the felt reality of having, that changes circumstances. Not tomorrow, now. When you practice this nightly, you will begin to notice subtle changes. You may awaken with a greater sense of confidence. You may walk with a lighter step. You may feel inspired to take actions that previously felt impossible. And eventually, the world outside will bend to the world inside. People will treat you differently. Opportunities will appear. Circumstances will shift. But all of this begins not with action, but with feeling. The mistake is to wait for proof. The wise do not wait. They generate the proof within. They feel it long before it arrives, and because they feel it, it must arrive. The subconscious has no will of its own. It is shaped by what you feel to be true. If you fall asleep feeling rich, the subconscious sets in motion events that support that belief. It rearranges your world to match your inner state. But if you fall asleep feeling poor, then the same law works against you, not because it is cruel, but because it is obedient. So make feeling your nightly companion. Make the sensation of already having your wealth the last thing you embrace before sleep. Let that warmth flow through your chest. Let the relaxation of financial ease descend through your limbs. Let your mind rest in the knowing that all is well. This is not fantasy, it is instruction. You are instructing your subconscious, not with commands, but with vibration. And those vibrations must become visible. You need not know how the manifestation will arrive. That is not your concern. The feeling draws the way. The emotion organizes the sequence. Your role is to dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled and surrender to sleep with that feeling alive in you. This is the secret to fast manifestation. Not more effort, not more noise, but deeper feeling. Riches come to the one who feels rich, not eventually, but inevitably. Each night as you drift into sleep, you are not simply resting the body, you are programming the very foundation of your reality. The subconscious mind, vast and powerful, does not sleep. It does not slumber, nor does it resist. It receives. And what it receives just before you lose consciousness becomes the material with which your world is built. This is why the moment before sleep must be treated with deep reverence. What you think, feel, and accept in that delicate state is not just a passing thought. It is an instruction. and the subconscious mind obeys. You see, the subconscious has no sense of humor. It does not play games, nor does it ask questions. It accepts whatever it is given, whether truth or lie, fear or faith. It is not concerned with facts. It is moved by impressions. And impressions are made most powerfully through repeated emotional experience. When you go to bed each night rehearsing worry or anxiety about your finances, your mind accepts this as your chosen truth. It assumes that poverty or struggle is your preference, not because it wishes to hurt you, but because you have emotionally declared it so. And what happens when this declaration is accepted? The outer world begins to reflect it. You wake up and find more reasons to worry. Circumstances appear that echo your assumption. Events unfold that match the vibration you impressed during sleep. You think the world is happening to you, but it is only responding to you. The law is impersonal. It does not judge what is right or wrong, only what is impressed with feeling. But what happens when the same mechanism is used in the direction of wealth? What happens when you lay in bed and deliberately enter a state of gratitude for the abundance you have already assumed? When you visualize your accounts filled, your opportunities expanding, and your needs met before they even arise. When you allow yourself to feel the relief of freedom, the confidence of security, the joy of overflowing provision, in that moment your subconscious receives these feelings not as imagination, but as fact. It takes your emotional experience and makes it a blueprint, and from that blueprint, it builds. This is why it is said that sleep is not escape, it is access. It is your chance to cross from the realm of effort into the realm of effortless becoming. During the day, your logical mind fights and filters and questions. It tells you that wealth must come in a certain way, or that you must first deserve it, or that you must wait. But at night, as your conscious mind fades into stillness, your subconscious is open. It does not demand reason. It only responds to rhythm. So if the rhythm of your nightly feeling is peace, confidence, and sufficiency, then your world must eventually conform to it. You do not need to force this process. You do not need to demand it. You need only to feel it and repeat it. The subconscious is not moved by loud declarations, but by consistent impressions. Feelings repeated night after night become beliefs, and beliefs once fully formed must harden into facts. So the work is not in manipulating the outer world. The work is in preparing the inner soil night after night, until the new seed takes root. So, how do you apply this? You decide that your final thought each evening will no longer be about what is missing. It will no longer be about what you fear. Instead, it will be about what you choose to receive. You build a short scene, perhaps a moment of looking at your bank statement, hearing the sound of someone praising your success, or simply relaxing in the warmth of knowing that everything is taken care of. And you loop that scene in your mind, not with tension, but with surrender. You let it play softly, gently, as you sink deeper into sleep. At first, the old thoughts may interrupt. Doubt may try to return, but you persist. You gently return to your seed. You do not wrestle with the old. You simply replace it with the new, and in time, the new becomes your default. Your subconscious begins to accept it as the new norm, and then, without warning, the outer world begins to echo it. A call, an opportunity, a gift, a shift. And you realize that the world did not change randomly. It changed because your nightly assumption demanded it. The subconscious does not concern itself with logic. It does not ask whether you can afford to feel wealthy. It only knows that if you feel wealthy often enough, that feeling becomes law. And once it becomes law in your inner world, the outer world must obey. So do not underestimate the hour of sleep. Do not allow the noise of the day to write the script for your night. Take authorship of that sacred moment. Enter your rest with intention, for in doing so, you are not only preparing for another day, you are preparing for a new reality. The experience of wealth begins not with a change in your bank account, but with a change in your inner atmosphere. The moment you begin to feel as the wealthy feel, relaxed, certain, assured, you initiate the conditions that wealth requires. This is not an illusion or wishful thinking. This is the law of correspondence in action. The outer world must match the inner world, and that correspondence becomes accelerated when you carry the rich mindset into sleep. When the night becomes a rehearsal for the wealth you assume, the day has no choice but to follow its script. There is a difference between a man who hopes to become rich and one who knows he is already rich in consciousness. One waits and wavers, clinging to conditions. The other assumes and proceeds, indifferent to appearances. This assumption of being wealthy is not mere positive thinking. It is an identity shift. And identity is the soil from which all experience grows. The one who assumes wealth before he sees it is not delusional. He is obedient to spiritual law. He understands that the universe is not responding to what he has, but to what he is. Now, how does this assumption take root? Repetition, especially in the state between wakefulness and sleep. In that quiet, suggestible state, when the noise of the day has faded and the mind is vulnerable to impression, the inner man can be reshaped. You do not need to convince yourself with logic. You need only to feel the tone of wealth. Let it be subtle at first. Let it be soft, like slipping on a new garment. You do not need to declare $1 million. You only need to feel what it would be like if you no longer worried about money. Let that relaxation enter your breath. Let it soften your limbs. Let it wrap you as you descend into sleep. The more often you repeat this nightly ritual, the more that feeling becomes your normal state. And what becomes normal internally must appear externally. This is not about deserving. It is not about karma or morality. It is about vibrational compatibility. If you feel poor every night, you are becoming a match for lack. But if you feel rich every night, even if only in imagination, you become a match for abundance. You begin to expect prosperity, and expectation is magnetic. This is why sleep is the secret passageway. During the day, the mind is filled with contrast and conflict. There are demands, opinions, facts, but at night, those external facts lose their authority. You return to the hidden chamber where reality is first created. In this chamber, you are the author. You can erase, rewrite, restructure, and each night you are given the chance to begin again. But what will you write upon the canvas of sleep? Will you write fear? Or will you inscribe wealth? The rich mindset is not just about money. It is about expansion. It is about confidence. It is about assuming that life supports you. This mindset allows you to move through the world with dignity and grace. You do not chase, you attract. You do not fight circumstances. You transform them through inner alignment. And that alignment begins with your decision to feel wealth before you possess it. So when you lie down at night, take inventory of your emotional state. If there's anxiety, do not wrestle with it. Replace it. Shift your focus. Build a short inner scene. Perhaps you're walking through your home knowing it is fully paid. Perhaps you're receiving a message of good news. Perhaps you're simply resting in peace, knowing everything is taken care of. Let the scene be vivid. Let it be brief. And above all, let it feel natural. Then repeat that scene gently until it becomes your final thought before sleep. Do not try to force sleep. Let sleep come as you bask in the feeling. And when you awaken, do not search for evidence. The evidence is not your concern. Your concern is the assumption. The longer you hold the assumption, the faster the evidence appears. People believe that the world is changed through action, but action is only the bridge. The change occurs first within, and that change is a matter of identity. If you can learn to identify as one who is already wealthy, already chosen, already supported, then the world will bend to fit that version of you. But this identification must be planted deeply, and there is no better soil than the moment before sleep. You are never at the mercy of your circumstances. You are always at the mercy of your assumptions, and your assumptions are made alive through feeling. The rich mindset is not something you strive for. It is something you surrender into. And each night you are offered the chance to surrender anew, not with effort, with ease. Let tonight be different. Let tonight be sacred. Enter into sleep as one who already has. Enter into sleep not with desire, but with fulfillment. Not with seeking, but with gratitude. And as you do, you will find that the world begins to reflect not what you chase, but what you already are in consciousness. There are laws that govern the unseen world, laws more consistent and precise than any rule of economics or strategy of success. These laws do not respond to how hard you try or how loudly you wish. They respond to the assumptions you carry. And the most potent time to plant these assumptions is in the stillness that comes just before sleep. The law of assumption, though always at work, multiplies in strength when practiced at night, for it bypasses the resistance of logic and speaks directly to the subconscious mind, which builds your reality without debate. During the waking hours, your assumptions are often filtered and diluted by conflicting opinions, logic, and outer distractions. The mind becomes absorbed in the urgency of the visible world and reacts constantly to appearances. But when night comes, when the body grows still and the outer world begins to fade, a door opens. This is the doorway to the creative depths of your being. In that moment, you have access to the part of yourself that does not question, it only accepts. And what it accepts, it reproduces in kind. This is the moment where true creation happens. The law of assumption states that what you assume to be true, even if unseen, becomes true. But mere thought is not enough. It is the feeling of the assumption that activates it. And it is during the last few moments of consciousness, before you fall asleep, that your feelings are most easily impressed upon the subconscious. It is in that state, half awake, half asleep, where the soul is wide open to be molded, and where your inner acceptance becomes a command to the unseen forces that govern the structure of your world. Let us consider this practically. Suppose you desire financial freedom. You can read books about wealth, study investments, and even take action. But if you continue to fall asleep each night rehearsing the belief that money is hard to come by, then all your efforts are swimming upstream. The law will not give you what you study. It will give you what you accept. So you must train yourself to feel what wealth feels like before the evidence appears. And there is no better trading ground than the moments before sleep. In this sacred window, you must not simply visualize, you must become. You must dwell in the scene, not as a spectator, but as the one for whom it is already real. Feel the comfort, the ease, the confidence that wealth brings. Imagine checking your account and seeing it filled. Hear the words of someone telling you how abundant your life has become. Smell the air of the home that is already yours. Do not watch this scene from a distance. Enter it, be it. Then, without striving, let yourself sink into sleep. You are not trying to make something happen. You are resting in the truth that it already has. You are planting a seed in the soil of the subconscious, and the law guarantees that seed will grow. You do not need to wake up the next day and dig it up to see if it's working. You only need to water it with repeated feeling. Each night, return to the assumption. Each night, feel it again. Not as repetition, but as reinforcement. It is in this repetition that the assumption hardens. What begins as imagination becomes familiar, and what is familiar becomes accepted, and what is accepted becomes reality. The law does not care how unreasonable your desire may appear. It only listens to what you feel is already true. And if you fall asleep in the state of having, then the world must echo that state with experiences that confirm it. Do not concern yourself with the timeline. The subconscious mind does not operate on the calendar. It operates on certainty. The moment you feel it is done in the unseen. And the unseen is the womb of the seen. So when you assume wealth nightly and surrender that assumption into sleep, you are engaging in the purest form of manifestation. There is no resistance, no effort, no tension, only being. Most people work all day to fix the outer world, but neglect the one moment where they have the most power. The world of facts is only the echo. The real world is within. And if you do not command it before you sleep, it will be commanded by habit, by fear, by memory. You must decide who you are every night. And you must feel that identity as you drift into unconsciousness. In time, your outer life will catch up to your inner conviction. Opportunities will come, ideas will flow, people will appear, and circumstances will rearrange, not by chance, but by law. And the law was activated not in your effort, but in your nightly assumption. You assumed the state of wealth, and the law fulfilled its role in bringing it to pass, not because you worked harder, but because you felt deep. The law of assumption is not louder in the day, it is more obedient at night. Learn to command it when the veil is thinnest, and wealth will come not as a reward, but as a response. To understand the workings of manifestation, one must first understand the true nature of the subconscious mind. It is not a judge. It is not a critic. It does not analyze, question, or argue. It reflects. And it reflects with perfect accuracy the assumptions you habitually impress upon it. This is the secret that frees or enslaves. For the subconscious, with all its power, will give you what you assume, whether that assumption leads to riches or to wrecks. The world is not punishing you, it is proving you. Each night as you approach sleep, your conscious mind, the part of you that argues, plans, and worries, begins to fade. And in its fading, another part of you rises. The subconscious opens its gates, ready to receive instructions. But the instructions it listens to are not words, they are feelings, emotions, inner convictions. You may say aloud 1,000 times, I am wealthy, but if you fall asleep with anxiety in your chest and scarcity in your imagination, it is the feeling that will be accepted, not the phrase. The subconscious does not hear your voice, it feels your state. This is why sleep becomes so crucial. Sleep is the bridge between your assumption and your experience. During the day, you can be distracted. You can waver, fall into doubt, and react to appearances. But at night, just before you surrender to unconsciousness, you are most suggestible. And what you feel in that moment is treated by your subconscious as your choice, your truth. That truth then becomes the mold from which your world is cast. Now here lies the brilliance of the design. The subconscious never asks, is this good or bad? It only asks, is this true for you? If you make lack your truth, it will faithfully reproduce it. But if you make wealth your truth, even before the evidence appears, it must bring it into form. You do not have to plead for change. You only have to change your assumption. And that assumption is best planted at the doorway of sleep. So the question is not whether you are affirming the right things. The question is, what are you feeling when your conscious mind lets go? What are you emotionally dwelling on as you drift into the depths? If it is the memory of bills unpaid, opportunities lost, or fears about tomorrow, then that is the substance being handed to the subconscious. And from that substance, a new tomorrow will be shaped. But if instead you offer the feeling of sufficiency, the atmosphere of financial calm, the emotional acceptance that all is well, then that is the blueprint your deeper mind adopts. You must understand that this mind within you is literal. It does not take jokes. It does not dismiss imagination. It takes everything seriously. If you imagine a scene often enough and with enough feeling, the subconscious will interpret that scene as your chosen reality, and it will begin to do what is necessary to bring it forth into visibility. This is not mysticism, it is cause and effect. And the cause is never outside you, it is always within. That is why the inner world must be governed with precision and love. You must be careful not to misuse your imagination, especially at night. Do not replay scenes of failure. Do not rehearse rejection. Do not fall asleep reliving the past. The past only has power if you continue to feed it. Instead, make sleep a sacred chamber, a space where only the chosen scenes of your future are allowed entry. Let your subconscious feast only upon the emotional states that support your desire. Let it breathe in confidence, success, ease, and joy. And do this not once but nightly until these states feel natural. You do not need to explain this process to anyone. It is not for their validation, it is for your transformation. When you master your inner state, you become invisible to the chaos of the world. You are no longer thrown by what happens. You know the source. You know the cause. You know that the world is not reacting to circumstances, it is reacting to you. And more specifically, it is reacting to what your subconscious believes is real. And what your subconscious believes is real is what you repeatedly feel to be true. There is no exception to this. The law is unchanging. This is why wealth is not something you acquire, it is something you express. An expression begins with identity. Identity is not declared aloud, it is felt, and that feeling, when assumed deeply and consistently, becomes visible as fact. So tonight, when you go to sleep, remember the power that lies within you. Do not let the world script your subconscious. You must script it yourself. You must choose the scene, enter it, and dwell in it as if it were already unfolding. Let the feeling of wealth wash over you. Let it color your inner world. Let it become your resting place. And as you fall asleep, understand that the mirror of your life is being repolished, not by chance, but by your assumption, not by force, but by faith in what you have already accepted as real. There is a profound shift that takes place when a man ceases to seek and begins to be. As long as you continue to reach for wealth as though it is outside of you, it remains outside. But when you assume the end and live from it, when you dwell in a state of already having, then the outer world begins to conform. This is the entire essence of manifestation distilled into one act. Assume the end and allow sleep to seal it. Assumption is not mere wishful thinking. It is the internal claim of the truth you desire to see reflected. The outer world is but a mirror held up to your dominant inner reality. And that reality is composed not of passing thoughts, but of sustained assumptions impressed upon your subconscious. When you assume the end of wealth and allow that assumption to be the final emotional state you experience before sleep, you are effectively planting the seed of that reality in the most fertile soil possible. What does it mean to assume the end? It means to act, feel, and think from the place of already having, not from desire, but from fulfillment. You do not long for what you already possess. You do not chase what is already yours. So you must ask yourself, not how will I get it, but what would it feel like if I already had it? This question, when answered with emotion, becomes the foundation of your assumption. The mistake most people make is to fall asleep thinking of what they want instead of feeling from the place of having it. They create separation instead of unity. They project the goal into the future instead of absorbing it into the now. The subconscious does not understand future or past, it only understands states. And if your dominant state is one of lacking, then no matter what you say or do, the world will organize itself to reflect that inner void. If you lie in bed, breathe deeply and shift your inner atmosphere to one of peace, satisfaction, and security, as though everything you've ever wanted is already yours, then you begin to train the subconscious in a new pattern. And the more often you train it, the more effortlessly the outer world bends to your new state. It will seem magical at first, but it is not magic. It is law. Now understand this, you are not responsible for creating the entire path to the manifestation of your wealth. You are only responsible for assuming the end. The bridge of incidents will unfold without your manipulation. It may come through an idea, a conversation, an unexpected opportunity, but you must remain faithful to your assumption and let go of the need to control the how. The subconscious, once properly impressed, will take care of the rest. This is why sleep is such a divine gift. It is a moment of surrender. It is when the conscious mind lets go and the deeper mind begins to take over. When you fall asleep in the assumption of wealth, the subconscious begins its work without resistance. It moves people, events, and situations into place to reflect the end you assume. But it cannot do this if you fall asleep in fear. It cannot do this if you fall asleep rehearsing what has not worked. You must use sleep intentionally. You must enter it in the spirit of the fulfilled. Some may ask, but what if I don't feel it yet? Then you must persist. The assumption may feel foreign at first. The state of wealth may feel distant, but repetition breeds familiarity, and what becomes familiar becomes real. Each night you practice, you bring yourself closer to alignment. Each night you imagine, the old identity fades and the new one strengthens. It is not about perfection, it is about consistency. You are rewriting your inner script, one scene at a time. You do not need to spend hours visualizing. A single scene, clearly defined, emotionally felt and repeated, is enough. Perhaps you imagine handing a check to someone, or signing a contract, or hearing the words, "Your account has been credited." Let the scene be natural. Let it be brief. Let it be final. This is the end. This is where your story has already turned. You are not hoping, you're remembering. You are not creating, you are claiming. And once this becomes your nightly ritual, the world will respond. People will show up to fulfill roles you never assigned. Money will come through channels you never expected. Circumstances will arrange themselves in your favor, not because you forced them to, but because your assumption demanded it. Reality, after all, is shaped not by effort, but by belief. And belief, when assumed deeply enough, becomes fact. So each night, as you prepare to rest, withdraw from the senses, withdraw from appearances, withdraw from the noise of what seems to be, and retreat into the unseen. There, assume your desire is already fulfilled. Dwell in the joy, the calm, the gratitude of that fulfillment. And then allow sleep to carry that state into the depths. For it is there, in the silent workshop of the subconscious, that the real work begins, not with struggle, not with striving, but with quiet conviction that what you feel as real must become real. You do not need to beg for wealth. You do not need to convince the world to give you what already belongs to you by law. The world is not withholding abundance. It is echoing your assumption. And the most sacred moment to craft that assumption is the final breath before sleep. Each night is an invitation, a doorway, a blank canvas. It is not the day that changes your world. It is what you do in the invisible realm of rest. The truth is simple. What you feel as real before sleep becomes real in the waking world. The subconscious does not argue, it does not doubt, and it does not delay. It simply accepts and reflects. And if you offer it the assumption of wealth, felt with sincerity, peace, and confidence, it must construct that wealth into your experience. No effort can override the law. No outer work can replace the inner act of feeling it done. This is your power. You do not chase wealth, you embody it. You do not seek the path, you assume the end. And in that assumption, every necessary bridge appears. Each night, as you drift into sleep, you are not escaping life. You are instructing it. So sleep deliberately. Sleep as the rich version of yourself, not tomorrow, now. And as you persist in that identity, the world will unfold to match your inner state, quietly, inevitably, and faithfully.